My name is Chloe. At 35 years old. I pride myself on being meticulous and organized. I work as an auditor in a large company. My keen eye for detail serves me well both professionally and personally. My friends often tease me about my enthusiasm for organization, especially when it comes to financial matters like keeping receipts and paying taxes on time. But for me, these habits are essential for maintaining order in my life. Now, let me share the story of how I met my husband, Theodore. It was at a gathering organized by our mutual friend, Victoria. That night, I enjoyed some wine and good conversation with friends from college. Then Theodore arrived. He was a bit older, exuded confidence, and sported a charismatic smile. He worked as a manager at a food sales company. "Hi, I'm Theodore. Mind if I join you?" he asked, a beer in hand. Looking directly into my eyes. "Sure. I'm Chloe. Nice to meet you," I replied with a smile. We hit it off immediately, finding common ground like our love for hiking and classic rock. A few months after we started our relationship, Theodore invited me to a barbecue at his sister's house. It was the first time I met his family. Although Audrey welcomed us warmly, her children were quite mischievous. They ran around, screamed, and threw toys. Despite my discomfort with the chaos, the evening turned out to be memorable. Theodore seemed relaxed and amused by the children's energy. As our relationship became more serious, Theodore proposed to me during a picturesque hike. It was a simple but perfect moment at the top of a hill with a breathtaking view of the valley. Our wedding was beautiful, although not without its challenges, especially with Audrey's children, who remained as mischievous as ever. Theodore found their antics amusing, while I struggled to keep my frustration silent. After getting married, we decided it was time to buy our own house. One night, from our rented apartment, we sat down to talk about our finances. We were excited to begin this new and exciting chapter together. With our shared love for organization and adventure, I felt hopeful about our future, despite the occasional challenges his family might bring. As Theodore and I adjusted to the realities of buying a new house, we found ourselves navigating the practicalities of merging our lives in a more complete way. "Chloe, we need to figure out how to split the expenses," Theodore said one night, lounging on the sofa in our apartment. "Yes, I've been thinking about that too," I replied thoughtfully. "I can take care of buying the furniture, appliances, and some artwork to decorate. And you, Theodore? How about I buy you a new car?" he offered with a considerate smile. "I know your old car has been a hassle." I loved the idea. My car was on its last legs, and the thought of a reliable replacement was more than welcome. We enthusiastically launched into the search for a house, and after several weeks, we fell in love with a charming house. Although it was a little expensive, we decided it was worth the investment. Moving was chaotic, but decorating our new space was an exciting endeavor for me. I dedicated many hours to selecting stylish and high-quality furniture and appliances. Shortly after settling in, Theodore surprised me with a sleek and shiny new sedan. "Theodore, this is incredible. Thank you so much," I exclaimed, overwhelmed with gratitude as I hugged him. Life in our new home started wonderfully. We both thrived in our jobs and enjoyed the cozy atmosphere we had created. However, not everything was perfect. Theodore's laid-back attitude, which initially seemed charming, began to irritate me, especially when it came to household responsibilities. One night, after a long day, I asked him to help me with the dishes. Chloe, I had a rough day. Can I do it tomorrow?" he replied, looking at me with pleading eyes. But I insisted on maintaining the cleanliness of our house, and he reluctantly agreed to help. A few months after our marriage, I started to worry about not being able to get pregnant. It was an additional stress factor, and despite the doctor's advice to be patient, it was hard not to feel anxious. To complicate matters, Theodore's sister, Audrey, who lived in a neighboring state, visited us frequently. Every time she came, she brought chaos with her, unloading her marital problems on me endlessly. "Chloe, you won't believe what David did this time," she would say, clearly frustrated. I tried to change the subject, hoping to escape the constant drama, but Audrey insisted on venting. Her children were just as troublesome. Their visits turned our house into a circus. They ran around, fought with each other, and made a lot of noise. After a heavy work week, all I wanted was some peace. But that seemed impossible with the chaos they brought. Boys, please calm down, I pleaded, trying to restore some order. Why are you always so tense? Chloe, Audrey would retort sharply, increasing the tension. Amidst these challenges, Theodore and I continued to navigate our life together, balancing the joys of our new home with the complexities of family dynamics. Despite the occasional tensions, our foundation remained strong, built on love, shared dreams, and an ever-deepening commitment. Every time I tried to get Audrey's children to behave, I pleaded for some order. But when I asked them to stop making such a mess, Audrey simply retorted, "Well, maybe if you had kids you'd understand." Her words touched me deeply, not only because they were harsh but because she knew about my struggles with fertility. I felt like it was a direct attack and was surprised that Theodore remained silent. "Theodore, are you going to let her talk to me like that?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger and pain. To my dismay, Theodore dismissed my concerns. "Chloe, calm down. You're making a big deal out of nothing," Theodore said, siding with Audrey again. "It's not nothing. She insulted me in our house," I exclaimed as tears began to form. I was at my breaking point. I was tired of being disrespected in my own home and of my husband always siding with his sister. I knew something had to change. On Saturday, Audrey arrived unexpectedly with her children, saying she needed a break because she was going shopping. "Fine. But make it quick," I said, the stress evident in my tone. She thanked me and rushed out, leaving me with the children and a growing sense of dread. I was in the kitchen trying to prepare dinner, a task I prefer to do calmly and meticulously, but with the children causing chaos. Concentrating was impossible. They were yelling, running, and generally wreaking havoc. "Keep it down," I yelled from the kitchen, hoping for a moment of peace. They ignored me, and shortly after, a loud crash in the living room made me run towards it. Among the debris lay my grandfather's antique Chinese vase, shattered. My heart sank at the sight of the damage. "What the hell happened here?" I demanded, my voice shaking as I looked at the children, who now stood frozen, guilt written on their faces. "We were just playing," one mumbled, avoiding my gaze. "This vase is priceless. It belonged to my grandfather. Do you have any idea what you've done?" I was furious. My whole body trembled with anger. Just then, Theodore walked in with his usual laid-back demeanor, clueless about what was going on. "What's going on?" he asked. I pointed to the broken vase. "Your nephew just broke my grandfather's vase. Look at this mess." Theodore's response only made me angrier. "Calm down, Chloe. It's just a vase. We can fix it," he said, dismissing my feelings. "It's not just about the vase, Theodore. It's about respect. I'm tired of this. Every time Audrey comes, our house turns into a disaster zone. And you don't even seem to care," I yelled, my voice cracking with frustration. Audrey walked in at that moment, shopping bags in hand, and seemed annoyed by the commotion. "What's all this yelling about?" she asked. I pointed to the remains of the vase on the floor. "Your children broke my grandfather's vase. Look at this mess." Instead of apologizing, she retorted, "Well, maybe you should have watched them better. Are you kidding me? They're your kids. I shouldn't have to be babysitting them," I replied angrily. Theodore just shook his head, looking annoyed. "You're overreacting, Chloe. Just drop it," he said. I was sick of being told I was overreacting. I'd had enough. I was tired of being treated like I didn't matter in my own home. "Enough. I'm tired of this," I finally said. The disrespect had become unbearable, and I knew that for the sake of my dignity and happiness, something had to change. Tears spilled as I argued with Theodore. He just stood there, silent and impassive, while Audrey wore a smirk that seemed to declare victory, overwhelmed by a mix of anger, hurt, and betrayal. I stormed out of the room. I had dealt with the chaos of Audrey's visits and her children for months, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. One morning, as Theodore sat calmly eating his toast at the kitchen table, he dropped a bombshell with as much indifference as if he were commenting on the weather. "Chloe, I need to tell you something. Audrey's getting a divorce and she's going to be moving in with us. With the kids. For a few months. Theodore said. I almost dropped my coffee. Seriously? Our house is already chaos when they visit for a day. How are we supposed to handle them living here for months? I asked incredulously. She's my sister. Chloe. She needs our help. You need to be more understanding, he replied. Looking at me like I was being unreasonable. Understanding? I've done nothing but be accommodating. But this is too much. Why can't we rent a place for her nearby? I'll even pay the first month's rent. I suggested. Trying to remain calm. She'll be better off here. Besides, you can help with the kids and keep things clean, he stated as if it was the most obvious solution. I'm not a babysitter. Theodore. I work, too. And I need to relax when I come home. I argued. Feeling my frustration rising. Stop being so selfish. Chloe. It's family. They need us, he snapped. Growing increasingly annoyed. I'm not being selfish. Theodore. I'm just asking for a reasonable solution. I'm not going to have my life turned upside down. The argument escalated. Well, they're coming tomorrow night. So, you better get used to the idea, he declared. Standing up and walking out of the kitchen. I was blind with rage. Emotional. And feeling completely betrayed. The next morning. Still furious from our argument. I got dressed for work and went to get my car keys. But they were nowhere to be found. When I called Theodore. His voice sounded calm. I took the car. It's mine. Remember? I'm giving it to Audrey to use for the kids, he told me. You're giving my car to Audrey? Seriously? I was in shock. It's not your car, Chloe. I paid for it. And she needs it more than you, he replied matter-of-factly. That was the last straw. Theodore. You have taken everything from me. I yelled. My voice shaking with anger. What are you talking about? Don't be dramatic. Chloe, he retorted. He clearly didn't understand the depth of my feelings. I stood in the hallway, holding my phone. And everything felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. With the way things were going, I decided to call a moving company. Hi. I need a team to move some furniture and appliances. It's urgent. I said. I requested the movers arrive a few hours later and directed them around the house, pointing out the items they needed to move. I took everything, the beds, the sofas, the chandeliers, even the bathroom fixtures. As the house began to empty, I felt a strange sense of relief with each piece being carried away. I had them take it to my mom's house, ready to start a new life free from the turmoil Theodore had caused. With the house now empty, I tipped the movers, thanking them for their quick work. I gathered my essential belongings and headed to my mom's. Within a few hours, my phone began to ring incessantly. It was Theodore calling, but I ignored the calls, feeling a mix of anxiety and newfound empowerment. That night, there was a loud banging on my mom's front door. I opened it, and there stood Theodore, a furious expression on his face. What the hell? Chloe, what did you do? He yelled as he stormed into the living room. I took my things. Theodore, you took the car, so I took what I bought. I responded, maintaining my composure. This is insane. You stripped the house. Where are Audrey and the kids supposed to sleep? He shouted, his face red with anger. That's your problem. Theodore, you caused this mess, now deal with it. I replied, crossing my arms. You're a thief. Chloe, you stole everything, he accused, gesturing wildly. I didn't steal anything. Here are the receipts, I said calmly, pulling out a folder and showing him the proof of purchase for all the furniture and appliances. He did a quick review of the receipts, his anger turning to frustration. Fine. Chloe, if that's how you want to play it. I'm filing for divorce, he said. Breathing heavily, I took a deep breath and handed him a stack of papers. Here are the divorce papers. Sign them. And we're done, I said. He stared at the papers, his face paling. You're actually serious about this, aren't you? He asked. I deserve better than this, I affirmed, feeling a strange calmness wash over me. He pulled a pen from his pocket and signed the papers without another word, handing them back to me. Fine. Chloe, have it your way, he said as he turned and walked out of my mom's house. The door slammed shut behind him. I stood there for a moment, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. It was over. And deep down, I knew it was the right decision. That night, I sat with my mom and told her everything that had happened. She was incredibly supportive and agreed that I had made the right choice. Chloe, you've been through a lot. It's time you focused on yourself and your happiness, she said, giving me a comforting hug. Thanks, Mom. I just need some time to sort things out, I replied, feeling a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Over the next few days, I began to adjust to a new routine, organizing my new space at my mom's and planning my next steps. It was a fresh start, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face it head on. I had taken back my life, and there was no turning back. After the divorce, Theodore and I sold our house and split the proceeds. I decided it was time to find my own place. One afternoon, as I sat in the kitchen with my mom, I looked at apartment listings on my laptop. Mom, I think I found a place that looks perfect. It's a small apartment downtown, close to work, I said, showing her the pictures. She leaned over my shoulder and smiled. That looks nice. Chloe, have you called the realtor yet? Not yet, I replied. I'm ready to take the next step in building my new life. Okay, I'll do it now, I told myself, feeling a flutter of excitement in my stomach. I picked up my phone, dialed the number, and waited anxiously to hear from the realtor. After a few rings, a warm voice greeted me. Hello, this is Ethan. How can I help you today? Hi, Ethan. My name is Chloe. I saw your listing for the downtown apartment. Is it still available? I asked, crossing my fingers under the table. Yes, it's still on the market. Would you like to come and see it? Ethan replied, a hopeful tone in his voice. Perfect. How about tomorrow afternoon? I tried to keep my voice steady. That works for me. See you at 4 p.m., Ethan said, confirming the appointment. We ended the call, and the following day, I was downtown, ready to meet Ethan and view the apartment. I was standing outside the building when I saw Ethan with his welcoming smile. Hi, Chloe. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let me give you a tour, he said, offering a handshake. The apartment was lovely, compact but cozy, with a tidy kitchen, a spacious living room, and a small balcony offering a beautiful view of the city skyline. This place is ideal. Ethan, I'll take it, I said, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. As I signed the lease and received the keys, I started planning my move. The next few days were a whirlwind of packing at my mom's and coordinating with the movers for the heavy lifting. On moving day, my mom and some friends were there to help. As we loaded the last box onto the truck, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves about starting fresh. Chloe, this is a wonderful new beginning for you, my mom said, giving me a comforting hug. Thanks, Mom. I'm so excited to make this place my own, I replied with a smile. We drove to my new apartment, and with everyone's help, we unpacked and set things up quickly. As I looked around my new home, I felt proud and content. It was the start of something new, and I was ready to celebrate. That night, I invited my mom and my friends over for dinner. We sat on the floor amidst boxes, eating pizza and laughing about Chloe's new adventure. My friend Victoria made a toast, raising her soda can. To Chloe and new beginnings, I said, thanks, everyone. I really appreciate all the support. I was grateful for their help. As the night wore on, we shared stories and laughed, and for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. Later, sitting on my balcony, looking out at the city lights, I reflected on my journey and how far I'd come. I was proud of myself for taking charge of my life. I'd heard through friends that Theodore, my ex-husband, had bought a small apartment with a portion of our joint funds. He now lived there with Audrey and her 3 children, working 3 jobs to keep up with expenses as they battled constant disagreements. One day, unexpectedly, Theodore called me. Seeing his name on my phone screen surprised me, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello, Theodore. What's up? I asked, my tone neutral. Chloe, please just listen to me, he began, his voice desperate. I know I messed up, and I'm so sorry for everything. As I listened to him, I realized how much I'd grown and how different my life was now, filled with new beginnings and positive steps forward. I hadn't understood the extent of yours until now. Seeing Audrey's children, I couldn't help but laugh a little. Really? Theodore? It took you this long to realize? I asked incredulously. I know it's late, but I'm sincere. I've spent a lot of time reflecting. And I miss you. I miss us. We can start over. He explained, his voice earnest. I'm willing to move into your place and fix things. I laughed and shook my head. No. Theodore. You can't be serious. You think you can just waltz back into my life like nothing happened? Chloe. I mean it. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll even take extra jobs to make it up to you. He continued, desperation lacing his tone. Theodore. I've moved on. I'm happy now. And I'm not looking to relive that chaos. I replied firmly. Chloe. We can make it work this time. I've changed. He insisted. I looked at him, feeling both pity and irritation. Theodore. It's over. You need to focus on your own life and your family. I'm not interested in returning to that mess. Chloe. Please. I'm begging you. He pleaded, his voice cracking. Theodore. I have found peace without you. I'm not going to sacrifice that. I stated, holding my ground. Take care of yourself. I hope you find your way. As I hung up the phone, I felt a mixture of relief and resolve. It was clear that Theodore was going through a difficult time, but I couldn't let his problems drag me back into a situation I had worked so hard to free myself from. Later that day, I met Victoria for coffee and told her the news. You won't believe who called me today, I said, rolling my eyes. Who? Victoria asked, raising an eyebrow. Theodore. He begged me to take him back and let him move into my apartment. I recounted, shaking my head. Victoria burst out laughing, nearly choking on her coffee. Seriously? And what did you tell him? I told him no, of course. I replied. I'm not going back to that mess. Smiling. We spent the afternoon chatting and laughing, and I was struck by how far I had come. I had created a new life for myself. A life of peace and contentment. And I was determined not to let anyone disrupt it. As I walked home, a deep sense of satisfaction and closure washed over me. I had finally turned the page on that chapter of my life, ready to move forward with confidence and happiness.